Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar brought to you by the CSIR, the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, and the Limpopo ICT Forum. I'm your host today, Dr. Namosha Veerasamy, and I'm a principal researcher within the Information and Cybersecurity Center at the CSIR. In order to continue this observance of Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October, we have compiled this series of webinars that aims to improve users' knowledge in cyber threat prevention. So last week at the first webinar held, the topic of discussion was on child online protection and rights. This presentation covered issues like cyberbullying, children's digital rights, online risks for children, child protection laws, and how to empower children to be more cyber smart. Today, we have a panel of experts who will be sharing some insights on social media, digital hygiene, and safe online behavior. So to kick things off today, I will be introducing the head of the Information and Cybersecurity Center, Dr. Jabu Mtsweni, to provide a keynote address and some opening remarks. Then we will continue the webinar with the rest of the panel. So I will now hand over to Dr. Mtsweni for his keynote address. Over to you, Dr. Mtsweni. Jabu, are you online? Can you hear us? I think we've lost Jabu. Okay, we'll just wait for Jabu. Okay, there he is unmuted. Jabu, can you speak now?
Yes, I think it's on now.
Oh, yes, now it's on. We can hear you. You can continue.
Okay, so I don't know what's happening. Maybe you guys are blocking me or hacking me because I can't switch on anything. So I don't know if I can even switch on my camera, but it's fine. So let me say good evening to everybody. And thank you for the invitation. And I want to extend our appreciation as the CSIR to the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, on this partnership, particularly during this Cybersecurity Awareness Month, where, the culture and the standard has been about us continue, to create awareness, but over and above just awareness, create the culture of us as citizens, as community members, as business leaders, as employees, to behave sensibly, securely, online and in different digital platforms. I know today there are different people who are going to be speaking, and from the department as well as from the CSIR, but also the ICT forum in Limpopo. So we are looking forward to hear some of your positive inputs. But maybe just for me to share, because I know the topic of today and last week you were talking about, online safety, particularly focusing on children. And today you are focusing on social media and just digital safety in general. And I know sometimes what normally happens, people may think, especially when it comes to us as cybersecurity experts, we may think we are safe. But one thing is, no one is immune, to cybersecurity attacks. No one is immune to being scammed. No one is immune to being tricked online, and no one is immune, from being breached. As we know, if you go, for instance, to platforms such as Have You Been Pawned, you will notice that almost billions of data is found there, where all our information is out there. Because when we are in the digital space, we can even be hacked through other means or through third parties, not always directly. So the message that I want to bring today is, as we talk about some of the ways to protect the citizens, to protect the employees, and to protect others, let's just always remember that the issues of cybersecurity, they are impacting on all of us, whether you are old, whether you are learned, whether you have education or not, whether you are a technical expert or not, you are impacted. Because when we read the statistics, for instance, when it comes to digital identity as an example of a problem in cybersecurity, we learn that almost 80 or 8 out of 10 people have their digital identity, one way or the other being breached or being stolen. And that ultimately means whether it's your email address, it could be your social media account, and it could be even a simple thing such as your picture that is online, because criminals are always trying to find ways to impersonate ourselves and the likes. And this is even more true, when you think about it, because if you look at how many scam calls we get on a daily basis, no one is immune, to that particular problem. On a daily basis, I'm sure I use a call blocker. You can, on an average of 20 calls a day that you get, scam calls. What does that mean? It means my cell phone number, which is my personal data, has been breached somewhere. And that means even myself as an expert, I am not immune, as I've already said. So in short, I just want to say in this cybersecurity month, we all need to be vigilant. We all need to continue, to create this awareness. But above all, we all need to continue to be on alert 24/7, whatever we do online, whatever we post online. And sometimes it might even be better as time goes for us to even use aliases online and no longer use our real names, because it's becoming even more and more difficult to protect ourselves online. But I'm sure the experts will deal with some of these issues in detail as you guys continue, to engage on this. So as I close, I just want to thank again Dr. Namosha, who's the chairperson for this session, or the moderator, and I'm sure you guys are going to do a good job. And then the panelists in Crestinah, Mudau from the CSIR, one of our senior researchers, Nokuthaba, Precious, who was, I think, also last week participating, Thuli, as well as Effie from DCDT. And I'm sure these are, what is also maybe powerful, is these are young, people, young females, who are very making a very good contribution into the space. And it's always very good, to see females coming up into this field, because we know that some of these fields are always male dominated. So we want to also appreciate the organizers for acknowledging that women can lead. They don't need men amongst themselves to lead. It's very great to see this. And let me thank also Mr. Pasha, the Secretary of the ICT Limpopo Forum, for this partnership with DCDT. And having said that, acknowledge even the CSR team that is handling this. Unfortunately, I don't know why I could not show my face, but I'm sure they will make a plan to put me somewhere there. Nowadays with AI, I'm sure you can put me there. Thank you very much, colleagues, and I wish you all the best for this particular session. Thank you.
Thank you for those insightful introduction to today's session, and also providing some practical examples of how we are all affected by cybersecurity threats. As you said, no one is immune. So we're now going to kick off our panel discussion. And the topic of today is social media hygiene and safe online behavior. So let me introduce our panel this evening. So from the CSIR, the Information and Cybersecurity Center, we have our cybersecurity specialists and researchers. They are Crestinah Mudau, Nokuthaba Siphambili, Thuli Mkhwanazi, and Precious Maduma. And then we also have the Deputy Director, Cybersecurity Operations at the Department of Communications, Digital Technologies, Effie Mnqeta. So hello and a warm welcome to our panel today. So let's get started. So the first question is going to be to Crestinah. And Crestinah, I would like to ask you, how do you define digital hygiene? And why do you think it is such an important concept in today's connected world? You're on mute, Crestinah. You can just unmute.
Here I am thinking that I'm unmuted. Good afternoon or evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and be talking about cybersecurity. Thank you. My name is Crestinah, as they've already said. Thank you for the question again, Dr. Namosha. So I would start by saying basically digital life is everything that we do in our everyday life, when we post social media, when we send text, WhatsApp. So it's everything that we use actually within the internet. So to say what is digital life, basically it means digital hygiene. It means that everything that we do within our digital life, it's actually clean and safe. So it's about the small and regular habits that actually protect our devices as well as our personal information. So this can be something like using a strong password instead of obviously using 12345 or your pet's name, because that can easily be found, because we're always posting about, oh, my pets and all of that. Making sure that you lock your phone and your laptops when you walk away. You don't just leave your technologies open for everyone to actually see, and as well as backing up your information, especially if it's important information, in case if your device gets lost or actually get hacked, so you know that you have backup of your personal information and important files that you might have. And as well as deleting any apps that you might not use, because if an application is no, you're no longer using, and you might find that it's also not receiving any software updates, it might actually be used to get hacked, because it might have certain weaknesses. And why is it important? Why does it matter? Because most of our lives nowadays, we actually, our banking, shopping, work, even chatting with our friends, everything now happens online. So one careless mistake or wrong or weak password can actually lead to a stolen money, can actually lead to a leaked private data, or identity theft actually. So practicing good digital hygiene actually keeps you and your family and your workplace very safe.
Thank you, Crestinah. Yes, those were very useful tips. I think one of the first pieces of advice you gave was about not using a password like 1234. So Noku, I would like to ask you, what are some practical tips for creating strong passwords that are both secure and easy to remember?
Thank you, Dr. Namosha, for the platform. And then for a password to be secure, what is normally recommended is your password should have a minimum of 12 characters. And then with this, it's advisable to have like passkeys. As Crestinah mentioned, you can't use your pet names. And then with that, you can use numbers as well, and then symbols as well. So in order for you to have a secure password, it should be a minimum of like 12 characters, have numbers, symbols. And then it's also advisable not to use your name, your say your family, your mother's name, your child's name. And then also you should ensure that you have like special characters. As I mentioned, the password has to be unique as well. So that is the advisable recommendation that I'm giving. Thank you.
Thank you, Noku. I think yes, just another tip maybe to add to that in terms of passwords. It's also sometimes a good idea to use phrases. I know they often say pick a nursery rhyme or something and then use the letters at the beginning of the nursery rhyme. So for example, if you say Mary had a little lamb, it followed her to school one day. So if you take all those letters, you remember the nursery rhyme, but it looks quite complex. So that's just another tip I've picked up with passwords. So now we're gonna jump to Thuli, and Thuli, we're gonna change lanes a little bit. We're going to start talking about a lot of the laws in the country and looking at data protection. So Thuli, the question I have for you is, what are some of the biggest challenges organizations face when trying to comply with data protection laws like POPIA and GDPR?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Namosha, for the question, and greetings to the audience. So some of the biggest challenges that organizations face with complying to these data laws is data mapping and discovery. So organizations don't truly know where all their personal data is, what format it's in, and who has access to it, and also how it flows across the systems and borders. So you can't really protect what you can't find. Secondly, the issue of data minimization. The principle is that you only collect data that you absolutely need and you get rid of the rest. So companies struggle to draw the line and purge all old or non-essential data, leaving them with massive digital clutter, which also puts them at risk. Another issue is managing the data subject rights, we know that laws grant individuals rights. For example, the right to access your info, rectify it, or have it deleted. So implementing the processes to quickly and accurately handle all of these requests for millions of records is a huge and ongoing logistical burden for organizations. Also, the third-party risk is a huge issue now because businesses are responsible for the data that third parties keep, whether it's your cloud services provider or the vendors. Organizations are still in charge of that information. So ensuring that every third party is compliant is complex and challenging for organizations. Lastly, employee training and human error is an issue because the most secure technology is useless if a single user is going to click on a phishing link or send sensitive info to the wrong person. So compliance requires continuous training and a cultural shift to address human firewalls. Thank you, Dr. Namosha.
Thank you, Thuli. I think, yes, you touched on some very important aspects that organizations may fail to actually consider. So I think some of them try to comply with certain aspects of the POPIA laws, but you've really touched on some aspects that could become risks in the organization. So I think it's quite insightful when they're looking for certain ways that the data could be breached or exploited or used in a malicious way. So I think, yes, thank you for that. And we're now going to jump to Effie. So if we're now going to jump onto the topic of AI, so we know criminals are using a lot of AI to create more convincing scams and fake content. So how would you give some advice to the users about recognizing when AI is being used for deception, like deepfakes or fake messages?
Good evening, colleagues, and the attendees online. And thank you, Dr. Namosha, for the question. Individuals, they need strong ways to verify what is real and look for problems or areas where AI fails to create seamless reality. For example, there are ways for spotting deep fake videos, audio, and also text messages. To spot deep fake videos, there's normally the quality of the video is poor. Some fakes, they use low quality video to hide the imperfections, and the video sometimes is grainy, unnatural movement of the person. For example, you look for the blinking of eyes, lip sync is also another issue that you can detect a fake video. When it comes to audio, the tone will always be flat, irregular breathing, and the background also, you can also hear the mismatch of the background in the background. With text messages, repetitive things, phrases, it's not formal, and there's also generic explanations. But there are various strategies which people can protect themselves online, like verifying the source of the information. There's also various tools that can be used to verify the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Effie. Yes, I think what you touched on again, the aspects of the quality of the videos. I think that's quite important because, as you mentioned, sometimes it's poor quality, and often when you zoom into the picture, you can pick up some discrepancies or irregularities. So I think, yes, it calls for more deeper investigation of these videos, pictures, and text to just reflect on, think, does it sound too generic, too generalized? Might this be a scam? So yes, thank you, Ify, for that, because I think many users are tricked by deepfake videos. So this is quite an important issue. We're now going to go on to our last panelist, and that's Precious. And the question I have for Precious is that, which relates to social media, that many people overshare without realizing the risks. So what are the real dangers of posting too much personal information, and how can users protect their privacy?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Dr. Namosha. So what I could share on that is that looking at how everyone is on social media. So most of the time sharing part of our lives online, it seems fun and harmless, but on the other hand, it exposes us to serious cyber risk. So especially on TikTok and Instagram, there's this trend of day in my life. You see influencers posting their home tours and their daily routines. What they don't know is that they are unintentionally revealing some of the personal information that could be their street name, it could be the security setup that they have, if they have one, some of the valuables that exist in the house. And then you find that some social media users, they share out their sensitive information like their ID numbers, which at the end of the day can be used by cyber criminals to actually create a profile on them. Just like Crestinah said, because some they share out their schools, their kids, their pets. So the cyber criminals, they do use that to create a profile on you, and then from there maybe try to maybe take over your account. And also there is another study that says that 1 in 3 social media users that have shared content online or on social media, they have exposed their location and also sometimes their home details without realizing it. And another one added that 35% of people that have posted photos and videos that shows identifiables of their home, that could be their front door or their address. It shows that as though that these details, they may seem harmless, but when they are combined by the cyber criminals, they can make one an easy target for that. So just to avoid it and to stay safe, is just making sure that when you share those things, you avoid showing identifiable features that can attract cyber criminals. And also, if maybe you are sharing something that shows, maybe let's say there's a security camera somewhere, you make sure that maybe you blurry that part, and also making sure that you keep your account private or share that that content with your friends that you have accepted, that you are aware of. Thank you.
Yes, Precious, I think, yes, it has become an issue that many of us overlook, and we tend to share too much. And I think that's a very important message again for the viewers, because as you said, people are putting all the information out there about their daily lives. For example, if they're going on holiday, their routines, what they do in a day, and criminals can use this information to profile them and then use it later on for an attack. So you don't actually understand the mind of a criminal and how this information seems harmless, but at the end of the day, it can be used to build a very detailed profile about you, and again, used later on to actually commit further crimes. So I think, yes, this is just important information about oversharing. So we're going to start back again with Crestinah. So Crestinah, we're going to talk about Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. I think it's very popular and people just want to connect immediately. But what basic precautions should people take when using public Wi-Fi or shared devices?
First of all, public Wi-Fi, we all are saying, oh, Wi-Fi data is expensive. Maybe when I go to the restaurant, I'll just connect to the Wi-Fi there and do my work and all of that. And what we don't realize is that actually poses a risk, because actually anyone can also be on that network and could actually spy on whatever activities which one can actually is actually doing. And also when it comes to shared computers, for example, it can be either at schools, it can be at libraries or at work as well, or hotels. It actually also poses a risk as well. So what can one do then in case to actually, let's say, protect themselves, or precautions that they can actually use to, to prevent any of the information being leaked out there using public Wi-Fi? So first of all, I recommend avoid online banking or any shopping on public Wi-Fi. We can actually do that at home when you get home, if you have Wi-Fi, or on your personal mobile data as well. You can use that, but not using the public Wi-Fi. Another thing that you can use if you're desperately wanting to use public Wi-Fi, then you can use VPN, which is virtual private network. And then if possible, basically this is actually acts as a tunnel for your data, which means that it can actually even deceive anyone in the network to say you are not actually at the place that you are at. So that can actually help to actually protect any information or any activity that you might be doing within the network. And also to check on any website that you actually go onto, if it's HTTPS, because it means that it's actually a secure password. And also be mindful when you put your password on any site. You must check if it's secure first before putting any details, especially when it comes to your banking details, because they can actually be intercepted and they can hack you and be able to steal your money. And then make sure that you always log out completely, because you'd have this public Wi-Fi that you will say you must sign in first and all of that. Make sure that you log out. And as well as if you're using any shared computers, you can also log out your own profile within the computer, or user within the computer. So make sure that you log out completely, that no one can actually be able to access that profile within that shared device. And always make sure that you clear your browser history and password before leaving any shared computers, because also this computers, when you go to browsers, you would have history as well as putting your password if you are going into sites that you have to input your credentials. So make sure that you clear your browser and the password before you actually log off on this websites. And as well as you turn off auto connect, because you'd like this thing of I want then with the Wi-Fi to automatically connect when I'm there. So make sure that you turn automatically connecting on your phone, and only join when it's necessary and when you actually need to use any public Wi-Fi. Thank you, Dr. Namosha.
Yes, Crestinah, I think you gave us some useful tips again. I think the message here is that, again, use public Wi-Fi only when you have to and for unimportant surfing, not for critical services like banking or online shopping. I use it to just if you want to pass the time by just looking at a few websites, but try to avoid it or use some other security mechanisms like you mentioned, making sure there's HTTPS, closing the browser, not setting auto connect. So I think again, that's quite useful tips, because many of us are just keen to use the Wi-Fi without actually realizing the dangers of password capture and what criminals are trying to intercept while using public Wi-Fi. So yes, we're going to take the next question to Noku. And Noku, the question relates to how can two-factor authentication or 2FA strengthen
Namosha?
account security? Yes.
There's a hand.
Okay. There's a question. I think can the person unmute? Is it activated for them, or can they type the question in the chat? I think the hand popped up and then it disappeared again. Do you still see the hand, Crestinah?
No, the hand is no longer there anymore. Oh, it's back again.
Okay. I think there's just some tips we're getting in the chat box. Oh yes, okay. Yes, okay. You can talk.
Thank you, panelists, for insightful information that you are sharing with us. Our people need this kind of information. Mine is this one, and this is based on what they normally say out there to say, what you put on social media, people must be careful about. And I'm saying this wanting to hear from the panelists about the experiences whereby today I'm 18-year-old and I'm pasting left, right, and center things that when I'm 30 years old may not appeal to people that I should be working with or a potential future employer when they go back. What is your suggestion on how a person should either start know now and not do certain things, or what is your suggestion? Should they go back and try to delete everything that they posted in the past? And if so, is it really completely removed? That potential employer or potential business partner, when they go online, will they not pick up what I've said, either on my own profile or on someone's profile, commenting the way they would not want to be associated with me? I just want to know if those things are there, and people have bent their fingers by their history that could have been fun at the time, but not appealing to for people that I want to associate with today. Thank you.
Thank you for that a critical question. I think, yes, what's important to realize and to spread the message to users is about this concept of a digital footprint, that everything we do leaves behind a digital footprint and there's a record of it. Yes, we have the ability to delete comments or delete the picture, but in cyberspace, we know there's a way of archiving or a history of records. So I think it's, again, a message that needs to be spread to the youth and to all community members, that what you post out there is going to be in the public at some point. Yes, we have these features to delete or retract, but at some point this information was out there and somebody could keep a record of it. I think many companies often use the technique of looking at social media to see how potential employee, what sort of messages they post, what is their lifestyle like. So it's not an official technique, but you'll find that some companies may look at your social media profile to see what type of person you are. So it's not typical practices, but again, we need to impart this message to users that their information is out there, they are leaving behind a digital footprint, and they need to just realize the seriousness of this. I think that is why we are talking about this message of cyber awareness and digital hygiene. It's about thinking about being safer and promoting these ideas of who is looking at your information, what type of people are looking at your information. We may just think it's fun and games by putting this information to our friends out there, but in the professional domain, it could be viewed in a different light, and also from the eyes of potential attackers. They are looking for easy victims. So I think we need to create more awareness and knowledge on this topic. We have another hand. I'm not sure if any of the other panelists just wants to comment. Anybody else wants to add? Or we can take Tendani's question. Okay, yes. Precious and Thuli have something to say just in response to the first question. Precious?
Yes, no, it's just to add to the listeners to say that whatever we put on the internet, it actually stays on the internet, because once you post something, you actually lose control over what's going to happen after that on whatever that you have shared. So they should just be aware of what they post, because even if you delete it, but it has already been reshared, it has already been screenshotted. So yeah, they must just be careful of that. Thank you.
Okay, and then Thuli, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to answer the question, but Precious has covered most of what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Okay, Tendani, you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much. This is such a wonderful webinar. I have a question with regards to cybersecurity awareness efforts at grassroots level. So majority of us that are here are quite we do have somewhat, or we have a lot of understanding of how to somewhat protect ourselves from all of this. But there is a bigger percentage of people who actually have no clue. And I have an example of people that receive SASSA money that there's a spike in USSD scams, right? So the USSD scam, the where they say press star 140 hash and it's relentless, and it's literally priced on people who don't know. So I want to know the efforts at grassroots level. I don't know whether it's efforts at government or efforts at civil service organizations of trying to make awareness about this. What is the status of that? What is the status of efforts for cybersecurity at grassroots level? I don't know who should answer that, but then in the space of work that we do, we find ourselves having to answer these questions as to who is doing that. Because now here we are talking to people who know what USSD is. But we have people who just, oh, somebody said I must press this and this and this. And then because now they suddenly find that their money is not there, they will rush to the bank without knowing that they have been scammed. And it's relentless, and people don't know in what to do. So what are the efforts at the moment on that end? Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I just want to ask Siphambili, would you answer that question, or is it a different question?
It is Namosha on behalf of government.
Okay, you can tackle the question then.
Can I go through? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much. Good evening, colleagues. Tendani, Siphokazi Novugoza from DCDT, Cybersecurity Operations. So one of the things that we do in the department, I'll try and summarize. It's quite a lot of things. We have a cybersecurity schools toolkit that we developed in 2020 that we have translated to 6 South African languages, and we are still proceeding, including the special schools as well. So we're rolling out that to provinces. We got down to the provinces that are not connected. As you know, not all the schools are connected. And we also now started a project where we are training LO teachers so that they also are aware of what is going on out there. And secondly, last year, every year we run a mass media campaign for the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So last year it was mainly based on SASSA grant users. So when I say mass media, we're in radio, the Kozi FM, for those who can't speak Xhosa, for Mhlobo Wenene, Mtsweni, and Metro FM. So we are trying to address this, and we're trying to bring almost everyone. As we know that we are here, we are converted, we're preaching to the converted, but there are those who are not connected who can't even join this webinar because they don't have the access to connectivity. So there are a lot of initiatives that we are doing in government and continuing to partner with partners like CSIR, like Google, like Agape, like UNICEF, UNESCO, because this needs all of us. Collaboration. Without collaboration, we can never win the cybersecurity war that we are facing. Because as we are here now, there is another threat, or there is another cybersecurity, something that is happening somewhere, and we will wake up to a new one. So it is very important that we collaborate and work together. So we do have initiatives. CSIR is also doing a lot in the space. And I know that ICT Limpopo as well is also doing a lot, but we are. Thank you, Namosha.
Thank you so much for that, Siphambili. I think, yes, it's important to spread the message of the efforts that is being done on cybersecurity awareness. As you mentioned, the CSIR also, like the department, is trying to help those organizations that require security awareness training and information. So yes, there are many organizations within the country that are available for support and help and training material. I think it's just about tapping into these resources and getting access to the information. And it's opportunities like this where we're trying to make it more accessible to the public so that they can get more information, and also the type of discussion we're having today, looking at practical aspects so users also understand what are those scams out there and what we can do better. Yes, Crestinah, you want to add something?
Yes, Namosha, I just wanted to add that just in addition to what maybe organizations are doing out there, as well as what the government might be doing. In as much as Tendani mentioned that this is a platform where most of us who are here are actually, within the space of cybersecurity, we know what USSD is. So it starts with us as well, I think, because every day we meet a lot of people out there, in as much as we are in this space of cybersecurity, we also have to spread that awareness out there in terms of the things that we also see that have been happening, how many people have been hacked. And sometimes we even have relatives that are actually experiencing that as well that we don't even know. But however, what I'm saying is that it starts with us as well, who are here to say that whoever you meet, share the knowledge that you share the awareness to another person, and that person might share to another person. You might have made an impact that maybe someone was close to actually, being hacked and so forth. And because you were able to share that knowledge and that awareness, then they were not able to, to succumb to that, because then they had the awareness from you.
Thank you, Crestinah. Yes, a comment in the chat was this is a collective effort. So yes, I think like you mentioned now, how do we share this awareness about practical tips? So I'm going to hand over back to Noku. The previous question is about 2FA and why are people skipping this? I think this is a very practical example of how to prevent some scams from going through. Sorry, Noku, the sound is, there's no sound from your side, but you are unmuted. Can anybody else hear Noku?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, Noku, maybe while you try to sort out your sound, we have another question in the chat. So I think, Thuli, this maybe will be to you because it's related to your next question. It's about small businesses and how do they stay safe online when details of the business are exposed. I think this is similar to the question I was going to pose to you about what do organizations do when there is a data breach, both legally and operationally. So maybe we can cover those two questions together.
Okay, thank you for the question and thanks, Dr. Namosha. So let me respond to that question. I think the mentality that organizations must have is that a breach is a possibility. Pardon me, a breach is not a possibility, but it's an eventuality. It is going to happen. It's a matter of when. So some of the operational preparations that they can do is having an incident response plan. An incident response plan is very important because it defines step by step some of the processes that must be followed in order to contain, eradicate, and recover from a cyber attack. So an incident response plan must be written, it must be approved, and it must be documented and easily accessible, even if maybe the network is down due to a breach. Another important aspect is that it must always be updated and tested, which brings me to the next point that after having an incident response plan, you must conduct fire drills regularly. So this is running things like tabletop exercises where you simulate a breach, and this must be done with cross-functional teams like your IT people must be there, legal, public relations, and HR must all be there to test the incident response plan. So in doing such exercises, it actually exposes flaws if they do exist, and it also ensures that everyone knows their role in whenever there is a cyber attack. Also, establishing secure communications before a breach even occurs. So this is defining a separate secure communication channel, such as an encrypted chat app So this would only be used if there is an incident in case of the email or the main network being compromised. Also, the network must be structured in such a way that if there is a breach, the attackers cannot easily jump to critical parts. So say maybe they attack a server, they must not be able to move on to other things like a database, for instance. So the structure of the network must be set up appropriate before a breach can even occur. Some of the legal preparations that can happen is that there must be relevant policies and documentation in place, and they have to be up to date. Also, they must appoint roles and establish responsibilities. For instance, under the POPIA, we know that they must appoint an information officer who's responsible for ensuring compliance. Also, the legal preparations include drafting a pre-approved template for regulatory notices and customer communication. So you would fill in the blanks with placeholders so that you can send them quickly and meet the deadlines that are there in case when a breach happens. The regulator has actually emphasized that organizations must now take breach notification seriously. Also, make sure that your contracts with third-party services providers include data breach obligations and appropriate security standards. So these are some of the things that organizations can do to prepare for a breach. Thank you.
Thank you, Thuli. Yes, I think you touched on some important points related to having drills so that you can practice it. I think, yes, if without practice, if a breach should happen, then many times the organizational team members might scamper around, not being sure of what to actually do. So I think, yes, preparation is very important. And again, meeting all of the legal and regulatory standards and issues that need to that organizations need to comply with. I see there's another hand up. Mtsweni, you want to make a comment or question?
Thank you very much. I think mine is it's a question from the panelists, but also a comment to say how people we go online for various reasons, and we choose various platforms for various reasons. A person would like to be on Facebook because either they want to sell something, or they just want to post pictures of where they are, or and so forth, or just to be bullies, and various reasons, as I say. How do I, when I get a friend request, how do I get to realize whether I need to be part of this person's network, or should I say the person who asked for a friend request, i.e. as an example. As a person, what would you recommend a person to do before they press that button to say accept or decline? What are the things that should a person say, this, by me clicking this thing, I would have checked these things to make sure that I'm officially associating with a good person, or am I not the first person to be associated with this person? Those kind of the things that, as part of the hygiene part, what should I do as the first steps before I press accept? That is, if my mind is not about just getting a lot of friends that I don't know. What would you recommend for a person who's innocent, who feels that they want to be there, they want to be associated with the people that they know, but ultimately they start receiving people faces that they don't know? What should they do? Thank you.
I think, yes, with this type of request, I think it's important, like you mentioned, to actually screen the potential request or the profile. So like you mentioned, look at the profile of the person sending you the request. Have they been online for a while? Do they have an established profile? Who are their friends? Do you have any friends in common? I think it's, again, doing a little bit of homework and research on that profile. I think also oftentimes, sometimes we go to a conference or we go to a work meeting, and then we meet someone and then they say, okay, I'd like to link up with you on social media or LinkedIn. So we've met this person in person, and then they send us a request, and we are more comfortable accepting the request. But like you mentioned before, there are a lot of criminals out there that are creating these fake accounts. They're just looking for potential victims. So what they will do is they befriend you, try to establish a relationship, create this fake relationship for a long period of time, and then eventually this might lead to a potential phishing or catfishing or a romance scam. So again, you need to do your homework, do some research on that person, and also look at the kind of messages. If you are to accept the request, look at the type of messages and communication that is taking place. I think at the end of the day, you always need to have your feelers out to determine whether this potential connection is actually communicating with you in a safe way, or they're trying to try to get money from you, or trying to play on your emotions, or that sort of thing. So I think sometimes it comes with experience, because you tend to identify these scams very easily, or other times you're not sure. So I think in many times it might be a trial and error, but I think the safest advice for me is try to connect with people you know, because at the end of the day, it might be difficult because we do meet a lot of people, but often a lot of these scammers are just sending out requests, spreading a big net and trying to connect people. And then later on it just turns out to be a scam. But I think, yes, Crestinah, maybe you wanted to add something as well. You had your hand up.
I think you just said most of the stuff that were in my mouth that I was about to say, and I definitely agree with you. You must always sanitize who you're gonna be friends with. I always live by the rule that I'll only accept the person that I know. If I don't know you, I've never interacted with you, I won't even bother myself trying to accept. Or if you look like you might be somebody that, okay, I might know, then if I then go look to your profile and then check, is it someone that I know? If your profile is then private, because you guys, you have this thing of you can turn your profiles to be private so you can be able to accept whoever you want to accept. Then you can also do the same thing to the other person who has also requested, so that you can also see who this person is. And on one of the comments, another person said, we must not feel guilty, or and to unfriend people that we are not we are not sure about. If you're not feeling the vibe, then unfriend that person. It's not a crime. Thank you.
Yes, I think, for most of us in the security sector, we're very cautious, so we tend not to accept a request randomly. We tend to be very suspicious. I think just another tip is also looking at the profile when you are assessing this profile. I think another tip is to maybe do a reverse image search to determine whether that profile picture actually belongs to somebody else, whether they just copied that picture and are using it. Is it AI generated? Are they using a picture of a cat or a puppy and they don't actually have a proper profile picture? I think a lot of these indicators can actually, perhaps alert you that perhaps this person is not very genuine or honest, whereas a person that has a profile with maybe 50 established friends and mutual connections, you could reach out to those connections and see whether this person is actually legitimate. So I think there's various ways of verifying, or again, you might have to accept the request and then later on realize, okay, this is not a potentially a good contact. I need to unfriend them. So yes, I think we've tackled that question. So we're going to jump to Effie, and we're going to be talking about, maybe Effie, I just want to talk about another critical issue is about social engineering. So I think people don't know about social engineering and how they get tricked into giving away the information or money, like the scams we're talking about now, where they press that certain code and then suddenly their SASSA money is stolen. So what practical steps can learners and community members take to spot and avoid these kinds of scams?
Thank you, Dr. Namosha. There are various ways that individuals can recognize scammers. Mostly, they play these psychological tricks where there's an agency for you to respond or send money. So that's emotional manipulation. There's also threatening language. Like if you don't send this, then this is going to happen. and their requests are very unusual. Those messages mostly there will be spelling grammar, typos, and others are using AI, where the message will be generated multiple times and sent to various users.
Thank you,
Thank
FB.
you.
I think yes. Just to follow up to that question to Precious, I think it's in a similar light. About a lot of these phishing scams are going around trying to get people to give away, to give out their sensitive information, like their banking details or other sensitive information. So maybe Precious, you can maybe share with us some of the latest phishing techniques that people should be aware of, and especially those that are being shared on social media platforms.
Thank you for that question, Dr. Namosha. So, what we should know these days is that phishing is no longer in an email format. So, these attackers or scammers, they now push links or malicious links through the social media messages or fake posts, and sometimes they impersonate friends and also trusted brands, as we've been saying that sometimes you would receive friends request. It could be maybe from a certain brand that you know, and then but the thing that you need to do is just to verify on that brand and just check if it has been there for some time, how many followers does it have, because most of the time these fake accounts, they have few followers, they don't really have content. And also sometimes it may happen that you follow a certain brand and then all of a sudden you see a friend request, and then that's where you should question how, because I already follow them, how are they sending me friends request. So, and then sometimes also the thing of this attackers impersonating friends account, which could be someone that you know, and then all of a sudden they just start sending you links. Can you check this out? And then you find out that actually a malicious link or a malicious URL. So you must be wary of that. And also, since we have these friends, we know their texting styles. So sometimes it's very important to just be aware of that, on how do you communicate with them. If they start maybe communicating in a different way, that's where you should just stop and just be careful on how you proceed on the next step. Thank you.
Yes, Precious, I think it's important for us just to stop and think a little bit more. Yes, we have a comment about these WhatsApp messages about prophets in another country wanting to heal people in South Africa, and all of these fake freebie links because we love winning things, so we click on them so quickly. I think we have Noku back, so maybe because as we wrap up, maybe Noku can just talk to the users about 2FA and why do people keep using it.
Apologies about that. So two-factor authentication helps you gain access to a system or an account. So basically, it adds an extra layer of protection. So with two-factor authentication, it requires something such as your password, your PIN to your phone, and then also something you have, such as your app, which you get an authentication code. And then also it helps with reducing password thefts and also help reducing phishing attacks. And then I think people are not using two-factor authentication due to lack of awareness. As Tendani had asked about how do we ensure that people are aware of this. So two-factor authentication is not being used due to lack of awareness. And then also most people think it is an inconvenience. And then also as well, people may not understand the risk of not using a two-factor authentication. So with the two-factor authentication, you can use, for example, with your iPhone, you can use your inbuilt password app, which will help create and manage your apps. And then also in order to ensure that people are aware. We need to create an awareness as we're doing now. So that is why people are not using two-factor authentication. Thank you.
Thank you, Noku. We've unfortunately run out of time, but I think in today's panel discussion, we touched on various topics relating to how to be more cyber savvy, how to be more, have better digital hygiene, and also various technologies and tips for the users. I think we talked a lot about the scams that are going out there. And overall, we have recognized and identified that there is a big need for greater awareness just to get the message out there, because many users don't actually know about many of these scams and threats and how easily they can fall victim to cyber criminals and cyber threat actors out there. I thank all the panelists for their inputs today and the audience for joining us. I hope many of you have learned something today, and we look forward to next week's discussion, which is going to be looking at romance scams and how people are duped into these types of scams. So as we continue with October Cyber Awareness Month, we sign off and we thank all the panelists. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks so
very
much.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. This was
Thank you so much.
this was insightful. Thank you, guys.